Hi, I'm Alana Abel. I'm a senior navigator here with Kandu, and I am joined by Toni Hickman and Dave Brinkman, our wonderful ambassadors. Please introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, my name is Toni Hickman. I am in Houston, Texas. And while I do many things, I am also an ambassador for Kandu, and I absolutely love what I do. So, yeah.
And hello,
Wonderful.
my name's Dave. I got into kind of the stroke space and caregiving space after my dad had a stroke and helping my family out in that regard. And then that ended up leading to master's in occupational therapy. So I've practiced in kind of stroke related settings. And so I'm both an occupational therapist and a Can-Do care partner ambassador.
Great. So, yeah, we have Dave as our care partner ambassador and Toni, our stroke survivor
Yes,
ambassador.
I mentioned that. I'm sorry. But yes, I am a two-time brain aneurysm survivor and the survivor of a stroke. Yeah.
So at Kandu, we really value that lived experience from both the survivor standpoint and the care partner standpoint. So the ambassador is such a key role in serving our survivors and care partners. I'd love for you guys just to kind of touch on that a little bit more about your ambassador role, and kind of it is Stroke Awareness Month. And so in the theme of that, how do you feel like you serve survivors and care partners?
Um, so I think in the ambassador role itself, a lot of the function of at least kind of at face value, a lot of what we do is help facilitate and participate in live connect groups. So we meet with care partners and survivors, respectively, and facilitate conversations, provide insight where we can. That's where kind of our own personal and clinical experience comes into the mix with what we've experienced, and then help support conversations through strategic and logistical things, and also a lot of the emotions, a lot of the interpersonal elements, a lot of the role changes, a lot of all those pieces that come with being a survivor and or care partner. Um, we also have the connect boards, which are app-based ways to be able to post and chat with other people in your respective group. Um, so yeah, helping monitor and again kind of facilitate that is the bulk of the kind of ambassador role, bringing in each other's experiences and helping coordinate those conversations.
Yes. And I would say for me, because Dave works on the side that helps care partners, and I am on the side that helps stroke survivors. So we oftentimes get to share each other's experiences, share each other's mourning over what we have lost, but also we get to encourage each other. And what I love about being an ambassador for Kandu, is that even when people first come in, you can see like all the confusion. And I know that's what I had when I first had my like major stroke. And you see all the confusion, and just to see like they have this light bulb moment of like, you know what? I still will be okay.
Mm.
Like when we get to see that, it's just such a beautiful thing to see. And I would say that's probably one of my most favorite moments, is when somebody comes in confused, or just not even confused, but just really starting all over. And they have that moment of clarity where like life is not over. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think to your point, Tony, also the range of experiences and timelines is really interesting. Where within the last few months, we've had a handful of returners to our Live Connect group that range from, I mean, one who's been calling in from like acute inpatient rehab weeks out, trying to get a handle on, like you're saying, all of that, where do you
Yeah.
start? What does any of this mean? To then some folks who are a couple years out and have more of that uh, perspective maybe, or have
Yeah.
traveled some of those roads, that being able to, I know for myself as an ambassador and with other people who are there, being able to provide empathy and insight and compassion for like, yeah, that those are can be crazy intense periods, and that come and go, same people who are years down but then have new events come up or other things, kind of helping each other walk with each other through that. I think it's been
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
beautiful element to the range of folks who show up.
Yeah. I agree. Definitely.
Yeah, I think that you both really touch upon how we really want to meet our survivors and our care partners where they're at. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that often comes up and that we often reflect upon is that you don't know what you don't know. And so, especially in this new and overwhelming space of being a stroke survivor or a care partner, what would you say are some of the main things that people don't know that they don't know about this journey?
I would say is the biggest thing most stroke survivors want, and it's a matter of changing the perspective, because what they want is this idea of back to normal and being able to do what they used to, and that is possible, but it may have a twist, or maybe you have to create that new normal, right? Like it's not just you can immediately get back to normal, because what is that? We just went through a major transformation, and so you create the new, and that's what I would love for them to know when they get into it. Like, yeah, maybe you're looking and mourning your past, but your past has had an interruption and now you have to rebuild. But rebuilding is beautiful when you can stick to it. So, yeah.
Super powerful.
Yeah, and I think in similar kind of parallel ways, in what you might expect kind of in relationship with that, I think there are some elements that come up in our groups that are logistical or strategic, or uh, sort of knowledge, if you will, of just like, man, how do you what happens next after discharge from one level of care to a different, or how do you find a provider for this or that, or kind of the practical logistical questions. And I think there's a lot of, I think often our group ends up mutually holding space
Mm.
for people where somewhat necessarily in a lot of, and for many people, like, they want it to be, they're giving themselves in so many ways to supporting someone. And within that, like, there's not much space sometimes for themselves. And I think being able to hold
Mm-hmm.
that space, especially for complex or emotions and sensations with tension of,
Ooh.
yeah, we're like, how do you, what does it mean? How do you, like, we had the sort of philosophical question come up the other day, like, can you be mad at someone who's hurt? Like, ooh, like, things like that are like, well,
Mm-hmm.
many
Oh,
layers.
that's powerful.
Yeah, and
That's
like
powerful.
navigating, yeah, where there's not, there isn't in many of these things a straightforward answer, and holding space together with and for that, being like, yeah, right now, someone's feeling this way, or I've this thing has been totally different or turned on its head, or I haven't even had space to think about what do I need. Like, I have no idea, those kinds of things. So I think one of the things that feels most important to me personally in that is normalizing, or like creating holding space for those things to come up, and to not have to provide an answer necessarily,
Mm.
but to reaffirm, like, yeah, this is hard, this is complicated, this is in many ways like big T or little t traumatic. This is change, this, and just affirming that. And then the things that come from that, the conversations, the realizations, the processing of, like Toni was saying, whoa, like what, often it's partners who are saying, oh, we thought we had an arc of retirement, and what might happen with that, and how do you grieve that? How do we know
Yes.
next? We don't know what, will we be able to do this thing we loved or not, or how do we change that? So I guess in that way, holding space for that same kind of, like you're saying, Toni, the same kind of grief, the same kind of making sense or meaning making of like a next direction or next steps is often the kind of thing we end up getting into.
Yeah. And you just said something that I will take into, because like I said, I am a care partner as well. But one of the other things that I have in the care partner journey that has helped me is just reminding myself, because that tension can get really tight. But reminding myself when I get so tensed about love, because love is the ultimate healer, and that is why I am doing what I do. So bringing myself back to like being that love. And then you said something about like, can you really be mad at somebody that is hurt? Like,
yeah.
So then you're really just mad at yourself because you're reacting that way. So yeah, that was powerful. Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And totally. Yeah, I think that those are all like not unexpected. Like everyone has versions of things like that. It's something we often come back to. It's like, like, well, in my, with any given person, like in my case, this is true, but that's not quite the same. But I really feel this, like, oh, and it's, but like I feel guilty about feeling angry, about feeling hurt, about feeling sad about them, and they're the ones that had a stroke. So can I feel any of those things? And all the unpacking of all that is a big journey. I mean, something that I'm also, like you said, you're continuing to heal. It's like
yes,
continuing
and that maybe that's part of the process. Maybe that is part of the process. Part of the healing is going through the tension and being able to see that you can really get past the tension and like, still heal, still focus on your loved ones, but make that time for yourself, because you have to make that time for yourself. So,
and I think what I'm hearing from both of you is, from the survivor and the care partner side of things, is that there's maybe this immediate assumption that there's going to be this focus on like the physical recovery. And then as some time goes by, there's an unpacking of how much more there really is.
yes.
And yeah, I'm curious, like as an ambassador in this role, you've both mentioned holding space for that. How do you find that you help or just kind of support, without giving advice, because that's not the ambassador way, but how do you find that you help support that journey of, Toni, as you often say, like loving yourself through the process?
A while ago, even before I got with Kandu's, because sometimes I can be blunt, and a good friend of mine told me some great advice, but she said, when you are being blunt, make sure that you also put honey on your tongue. And that has carried me a long way. So even we'll have survivors that come in, and just like it may be in the care partner group, some of them are frustrated with their care partners, or, they're going through their own journey of frustration. And so for what I've seen in the stroke survivor group, let them vent, let them get it out, because at this time they don't have another option and they just feel like they need to release. It is a very traumatizing moment to have your mobility, your brain hacked, everything taken away from you. And dealing with a society that assumes if you are speaking correctly and you can hold a sentence, then you are okay.
Mhm.
Because then you have to put on this facade. So when people come to the group and they are frustrated or angry, in my opinion, I just let them vent and I comfort them. Because at that time, if I was in their shoes, I need to be comforted. I don't really need somebody lecturing me and telling me what I need to do. And that's how I approach. That's how all of us ambassadors really do it. We approach it with kindness and understanding of their journey. Like right now, this is their journey, and everyone in that situation has a right to be frustrated. The care partner and the survivor both have a right to be frustrated. Both of y'all just got bamboozled with something that you did not expect, you know? So, yeah.
Very well said.
So we'll make the t-shirts. So just got
Okay.
bamboozled. Like now what?
Right.
Yeah, that I think exactly in the same kind of way you were saying that what in many ways that boil down to that kindness and empathy and
Yeah.
get to the experience or the certain value or certain empathy that comes from having been in our own version of people's shoes of like, oh, I know that, like I use the expression, I have my own versions of that a lot. So when people bring up, it's I'm not in the same situation, but I have my own version of like providing again kind of the normalization and the support of, yeah, that's hard. Like you said, you have a right to be angry, you have a right to be sad, you have a right to feel hurt, be confused, be overwhelmed, like all these things. And to have company in that, I think is um, something that is important within both our groups, probably. Where
Yeah. Yeah.
the other day we ended our session with kind of a quick brainstorm of what's one like tiny, like the tiniest actionable self-kind thing you can do. Like, what's a favor you can do for yourself? Because some you get around like self-care can have different interpretations of like, oh, is that too fuzzy or too, I don't have time for that, whatever. Like, okay, what's a favor you can do for yourself of any size, like any size? And I'll go walk outside for a minute. What can you do? A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Because it's so important for us to give back to ourselves. And even as the stroke survivor, I think sometimes even for care partners with the stroke survivor, it can be the frustration of a lack of encouragement, self encouragement. What's the word I'm looking for? But
Sure.
self like empowerment, but wanting to do the work, because sometimes survivors can make excuses for themselves but I've learned even in that, like, to let go of my expectations of what I want from other people, what I want them to do, and just accept that this is what they have chosen for their life, and that's okay. I still love you, and I'm still going to take my time for myself.
You just brought up a question that I have then for both of you as ambassadors. What's the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself through this role as being an ambassador?
I think both that there are a lot of things that I've learned is not quite the right word, but have awareness of or have experience with, or some element. It provides some of my own like meaning making or processing in my own journey. Like, oh, this experience, helping be present with other people in the same kind of experience I've had. There's more to that than I maybe realized. And also, there's still real emotion and processing and pain and my own layers that sometimes have surprised me. You know, like mid conversation, mid session, you know, there are times when, whoa, forgot about that piece of, oh, that's brought, you know, brought to life or brought into the forefront in a way that I don't always expect. So I think it's both. Um, I guess either way, the presence of that feels stronger than I sometimes uh, give give credit to or grasp or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, and I know I didn't say everything that I do, but I am a music artist for those who don't know. And so I've always made music, and it's been confrontational. So after I had my strokes, that's one of the things I started adding. But when I got into this group with Kandu, they just gave me another highlight of giving back, because to know that like your story or what you are doing, which is part of my purpose for living, is like fulfilling that part of me. But to know that what I am doing is actually helping somebody in some way, even if it's a small piece of advice, even if it's just sitting there the whole time and just listening, knowing that I have a part in somebody else's healing has been one of the most beneficial for my own soul.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most beneficial things I have experienced in a very long time. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And those connect group, the respective groups, are always one of the most highly rated from the survivors and care partners that we support. So your role in those groups absolutely gives back to those individuals.
I love everybody there. I love everybody there. Like I just look at them like, that's my family. Where is she? She didn't come today. Like
It's true. Yes, I do feel like when someone doesn't show up, you're wondering, where are they? Are they okay? We're
right,
thinking of them.
right. So
Yeah, it is a family. Well, I just want to thank you both for your wonderful contributions and roles as ambassadors, providing that lived experience, providing your heart, and, you know, holding space for our survivors and care partners, meeting them where they're at. You know, the ambassadors are really a big heart of that.
well, thank you for having us. Yes.
Yeah. So wonderful to hear from you both. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the chat.